Hello friends, may the great name of our Lord Jesus Christ be glorified. Welcome to the new series of the early Old Testament history of the nation of Israel. In the last lesson we learned how the people of Israel were treated as slaves in Egypt. We also learned about Moses and how God led him to the desert of Midian after he killed an Egyptian. While in Midian, Moses married Jethro's daughter Zipporah and had a son called Gershom. Moses had run away from Pharaoh, but was now taken care of by God. He was brought to a place of peace and rest. Moses spent his time looking after the flock of his father-in-law for 40 years. One day, when he was feeding the flock on Mount Horeb, he saw a burning bush, but the bush itself was not consumed. He heard the voice of God calling him by his name. God said, "Don't come closer. Remove your shoes from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground." Then God said to him that he had seen the afflictions of the Israelites and heard their cry. He had come down to deliver them from the Egyptians and take them to the land flowing with milk and honey. He also told Moses to go to Pharaoh in order to deliver the Israelites from the Egyptians. Moses then said to the Lord, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent. I am of slow speech and of slow tongue." God told him that Aaron, his brother, was on his way to meet him and that Aaron would be his spokesman to the people. Moses then returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, to bid farewell to him. He went back to Egypt with his wife and son. When Moses and Aaron asked Pharaoh to let the people of Israel go to the wilderness to hold a feast unto the Lord, he refused to do so. Pharaoh also increased the afflictions on the Israelites. Then God sent the judgments as he had said. There were 10 plagues sent by God on Pharaoh and his people. The first plague turned the water in river to blood, and all the fish in the river died. The water was unfit for drinking. 7 days after this, Moses went to Pharaoh again and asked him to let the people leave Egypt, but Pharaoh refused again. There was a second plague where the frogs covered the whole land. The frogs were everywhere, in the palace and in the houses of the servants. Pharaoh then called Moses and asked him to plead to God to take the frogs away. After the frogs disappeared, Pharaoh hardened his heart again and would not let the people go. God brought the third plague that brought lice on man and animals. But still Pharaoh did not let the people go. The fourth plague brought a swarm of flies which covered the land, but the children of Israel were spared. Pharaoh pleaded again and God took away the flies, but Pharaoh refused to let the people go. God sent more plagues. For the 10th and last plague, at midnight the angel of the Lord went through the land and killed the firstborn of every family, including the family of Pharaoh. There was a great cry throughout the land of Egypt. Pharaoh called Moses in the night itself and said that they must leave Egypt immediately. That was a happy day for the children of Israel. They were free at last after 430 years. God had heard their prayers. The Israelites started their journey in haste on foot from Ramesses, and the men alone numbered 600,000. There are many who harden their hearts, though they hear the Lord's voice many times. According to Hebrews chapter 3 verse 8, "Today, if you hear his voice, harden not your hearts." In the next lesson, we will study how God instituted the first Passover for the people of Israel.